everybody. I'm Christy Lockhart. I'm the Assistant Director here at the Thomas Crane Public Library, and I'm very excited to have with me today Anya Minogue, who will be performing a concert for us on March 6th, coming up this month. It's Sunday at 3 p.m. And Anya is, I'm very excited to say, an Irish harpist, which I don't think since we had you last, we've ever had an Irish harpist since. So we're very excited to have you. And I just wanted to find out a little bit about you. So you grew up in Ireland, which people will be able to ascertain in a moment. Can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up?
I can, of course, Christy. Well, first of all, thanks to the library for having me. I'm delighted to come back. I've been several times, and it's a beautiful space, and I love the acoustics. Beautiful building. You know, people don't realize what gorgeous spaces libraries are to play in. So thank you for having me back. I grew up in a place called County Tipperary, which was made famous by the Civil War song of the same name. And it's bang in the middle of the country. And if you think of Ireland like a saucer, I grew up where you put the cup. And it was sort of agricultural land, sort of farming country. And I came here as in my 20s, and I've been here ever since.
And you discovered the harp at a very young age, I think 12. Can you talk a little bit about, what was challenging about learning the instrument at that age?
I went away to boarding school, which is very common in Ireland. You know, a lot of people, when I was growing up, went away to boarding school, especially girls. And a few of my sisters had gone before me. I'm one of 10. So I was the 10th child, and all the girls had gone. And I had two older sisters who had done the harp. And my teacher was Sister Eileen Walsh, and she had taught all the girls, and harp was not that uncommon at that time. And so we had a 14-piece orchestra, a 114-piece orchestra in that school. So there were the first year I went there were 12 harpists in the orchestra. I know it sounds really, so that'll give you a kind of a bit of context. And I think the biggest challenge for me with the harp is that I thought there were just not enough hours in the day to play the harp. Oh. I just, my feeling when I found the harp was, people often would say I fell in love with something. That was what it felt like for me. And it's funny because I woke up this morning, it's a really cold day here in New England today. It's 9 degrees or something outrageous. And so I remember, on cold winter days in Ireland, we don't get anything we never got anything as cold as here. But I would have the choice, at 11 of going for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee for 15 minutes during class or whatever, and during the break. And I would choose to go to the music room and play the harp because it was that extra 15 minutes that I could get. And I was really passionate about it. So the challenge for me was always, I just could never get enough time because, I had other studies to do, and it was, it was a boarding school, and time was very segmented. But, and I think I did have one challenge with the tune for an exam, because you were on an exam, you did music exams a lot. There was tons of music in the school. We had 5 choirs, we had the orchestra, we did an opera every year. We did just all kinds of liturgical music and stuff. So, I remember having a breakthrough after I got that tune. And the next time that I had such a tough time was doing my master's. But once you made those breakthroughs, then it was just like, oh my God, it was like climbing mountains,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real, for me, it was a real feeling like being in love. It was really very, and you'd feel really passionate about doing it. It's almost funny now, but if I don't play for a period of time, I get very antsy,
I mean, that's always very inspiring when people have a calling like that, so it's just a drive that I think is hard to fabricate, it's just something within you. Yeah.
We're wired funny. There's something not right about us.
So here's a fun question, which is, I know that you've been able to play for a number of prominent people throughout your career. So who are you most excited to play for?
Hands down, Mary Robinson, president. She was a president, and she was just, people remember her as a very soft-spoken, sort of loving person. But what they forget is that when she was coming up, she was a real rebel, fighting for women's rights and what have you. And I remember the first time she came to Boston. I got to play for her several times, but the first time she came, unemployment in Ireland when I left for young people was almost like 30%. It was huge. It was huge. And we came, and she had her whole theme was putting the candle in the window for the immigrant, which was always a theme in Ireland at Christmas. You put the candle in the window. But she really made it big at Áras an Uachtaráin, which was the residence of the presidency. And she, it was always like, you're always welcome back, because a lot of immigrants really felt they had to go, that they had no choice. And that was the reality. But I remember her standing in the Park Plaza in Boston, and hundreds of people came out to see her because they felt so disenfranchised in a way. She stood there and shook hands with every single person, and I remember going up to shake her hand at the end. I'm the last person in the room. And that's a weird thing about being a musician, because you're kind of invisible. You're the first person in, and Secret Service is all over you. You're the last person out. And I went up to, and she was exhausted. She was like practically shaking. She was so tired. And I was very moved by her commitment. And of course, she went on to do work then with Nelson Mandela and civil rights and environmental rights, and she's still at it. I mean, I think she's an amazing person. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a just a privilege and an honor in some ways to end up in a room with a hero,
She really was. And I think that her exhaustion, her physical sense of, of humanness, sort of juxtaposed against the symbology and how meaningful it was. Oh my God, I'm getting a bit clench. But I mean, how meaningful it was for people was really, really inspiring. And of course, I'm really close up for this. I'm literally a few feet. They put me a few feet from her. So I'm just watching all this. But I really have gotten a lot of those moments. And at the time, I was probably too young, but I look back now, and there are a lot of politicians and people like that are really brilliant. And if you kind of are seeing them as this invisible person, you're very visible, but on the other hand, they forget you're there. It was really, I've had great privilege to see a lot of that, and enjoyed it, really enjoyed it.
All you can hope for. And now on a very different note, but we've been asking sort of all of our performers this, but how has COVID changed how you find yourself working and creating music? I've been doing some of the Zoom stuff, and I'm one of those people who's really pulled back. I don't fight these things. I'm just like, I kind of wait for things to pass. And so I'm just kind of coming back now. I just stepped back as much as possible, because a lot of my stuff's online. I got into Spotify and Pandora in particular. So don't forget to follow me. A long time ago, my son really pushed me. He really kicked me into that. And I'm so grateful to him. So I'm just really now starting to, and I'd started developing, thanks to my friend Nancy Duroff. She really pushed me to develop some workshops. And so I did. I worked on doing the research for those. So I developed one on music from Appalachia, putting my Christmas stuff into a workshop. And I'm just about to do a workshop next week on the Belfast Harp Festival of 1792. It's kind of a deep dive, but a ton of people want to take it. So who knew? Wow. And are you doing that online mostly?
All online. Yeah.
That's great.
So I've kind of developed some academic stuff. And so it's all positive. All positive.
No, we found that too, that sometimes the one side benefit of an awful time has just been that realizing that, you can sort of make yourself in some ways more accessible to people through some of these very creative means, so it is what it is, I guess. So your work often incorporates musical styles and genres beyond traditional Celtic music. Are there new directions that you're interested in sort of exploring in the future?
Of course. And I don't consciously look for stuff. I just kind of osmotically take it in, and then find it just comes out. So I'll just, I don't feel in charge of all that. I don't feel in charge of it. Like, people see things and they go, oh, well, I'd love to go this direction, that direction. I just, sometimes I'm going, it's like I'm talking to the muse or to God or whatever, going, you can't expect me to go there. You don't really think we're going there. I don't feel like I'm in charge of any of this. I'm just kind of trying to keep up and follow along. And I don't understand any of it. You know, sometimes you're full of creativity, and other times it's just you're waiting it out. And honestly, through COVID, I felt very flat, you know, but I can really feel spring coming again.
Oh, I hope for all of us. Well, Anya, thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk to me today. We're so excited to have you. So again, the concert will be taking place on Sunday, March the 6th at 3 p.m. in the beautiful Richardson building here at the main library. Will you be performing any particular favorites? Do you know already?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of, because it's solo, and certain things sound great solo on the harp, and certain things sound great in ensemble, which is more what I do in recording. So a lot of the old favorites, and we'll celebrate spring, the coming of spring, because it always comes. It just does. And we'll celebrate, you know, a little bit around St. Patrick's. I do a calmer show, just so people know. And I just do a calmer show. If you want to be put to sleep and calm down, I'm your woman. Come on out.
I think we can all use that a little bit right now. So thank you again, Anya, for taking the time to speak to me today.
Thanks so much. Pleasure.